Welcome to the Support Report podcast, hosted by United Community Supports of Maryland. Here, we discuss any and all topics relating to adults with developmental disabilities as we strive to make support resources and other interesting topics more accessible to our community. On this episode of the Support Report, we will learn more about Sunflower Bakery. So thank you so much for your time, Jody. If you don't mind introducing yourself and explaining your title at Sunflower Bakery.
Sure. My name is Jody Tick. I am the executive director at Sunflower, and I have the privilege of leading such an amazing organization. We're located right in Rockville, Maryland. And just for context, I've been with Sunflower for about a year and a half.
Awesome. And so, what exactly is Sunflower Bakery?
Great question. Interestingly enough, I was not aware of Sunflower before I learned of this employment opportunity. And in all full disclosure, I have a son with a developmental disability. So we're a little bit of a best kept secret, if you will, but more that people should know about us. So Sunflower Bakery is, we are a working bakery, but we are a workforce development program for young adults with learning differences. And what we do is we provide training in pastry arts or hospitality, and then help students find jobs in the community. So essentially, we look to enable pathways to employment for young adults with learning differences so that they can have and lead productive lives in the community, ultimately contributing to a more just and inclusive society.
That's awesome. That is so cool. And so, is this a kosher certified bakery? And what exactly does that mean?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, yes, we are. We actually are kosher parv, meaning that we are dairy free, and the word kosher means proper or acceptable. And from a Jewish perspective, it's mostly used to describe food and drink that complies with Jewish religious dietary law. And so kosher supervision means that a qualified rabbi or a rabbinic organization supervises the production and the ingredients that go into the production of food to ensure that the product is done in a way is made and stored in a way in accordance with Jewish law. We, as I said, are kosher parv bakery. So there is kosher that can just be if you're parv, you're dairy free. If you're kosher, you can just be a meat facility or just a dairy facility. The beauty of that, we are dairy free. Just a little bit more information that maybe you want to know, but to be kosher, you don't mix meat and milk normally in a meal. If you're dairy free, that means if you have a meat meal, you can have our desserts afterwards. If you have a dairy meal, you can have our desserts afterwards. So it's a win-win. Everyone can enjoy Sunflower. So I do want to point out that beyond being kosher, Sunflower is a peanut-free facility. So we also have practices in place that speak to some people's dietary either preferences or restrictions, right? If you have a peanut allergy, we do make a lot of gluten-free products, and we make vegan products too. So we, being dairy-free, some gluten-free, some vegan, and a peanut-free facility, we are attractive to a lot of people in the metropolitan area, whether it's because they have to watch for an allergen or they just have a dietary preference around these types of products. So, and we're looking to do more. We actually did a survey, and gluten-free is a pretty high demand item, whether it's desserts or what have you. So we do mostly desserts, as you probably know. Everything from brownies to cakes to pies to bars, but we do challah as well. So we do one type of bread, and we do another type of bread, cornbread, during Thanksgiving. So that's all to say we're working really hard on a gluten-free challah. I haven't perfected the recipe yet, but lots and lots of, so it will be kosher gluten-free. So lots and lots of requests for gluten-free bread.
That's fantastic. And
Yeah.
yeah, just like you mentioned, it is so appealing. So many people nowadays have different, dietary restrictions and especially food allergies. So that's really fantastic that you guys
Yeah,
have
and,
this.
and when I said like we're a little bit of a best kept secret, I find that some people know us because of our food. Some people know us because of our training program, but we're also trying to work to, build kind of that kind of cross information so that people who know about our training also know about our food, etc. So
Yeah.
getting more out into the community and marketing what we do and who we are and our delicious food.
Yes, absolutely. And so, can you give me some more information about the job services that you all offer?
Sure. So job services is relatively new to our program offerings at Sunflower. And what we realized before I get into what that entails is that specifically we train in hospitality or pastry arts, and we work to get students jobs in communities where they live. What we had found is in terms of job coaching, which is one element of our job services, that most of our students coming in before we had job services would be handed off to a coach. They would be working with a coach from another organization. And that coach would not necessarily know the trades that we were instructing in, whether it's specifically pastry, maybe a little bit less hospitality. And the life of a person with a disability, there's a lot of transition. So the transition from one provider to another can sometimes be challenging, which I'm sure your listeners know deeply and well. And so we decided who best to engage in job services than us, because we're working with students for 6 months. So we know their strengths, we know their weaknesses, we know the trade, we know the hard skills, and we can be that conduit to a smooth transition to employment. But our job services go well beyond job coaching, which when we do coach a student, that is on site at a job placement, and it's with Fated support. So we don't do supported employment. We set up a system for Fated supports where we will eventually work our way out of the coach situation, but making sure that our student has the accommodations, has the communication channels that that they need to be successful in that position. And I think you can agree, Rebecca, that transitioning to any new position or job is hard for anyone. And so if we can provide that continuum of care, if you will,
Mhm.
we that's why we started kind of job services and job coaching. And what we have found is, interestingly enough, as much of a service as it is for our graduates, it's almost equally as a service for our employers, because we help set up the appropriate communication channels. We head off any issues early. And so, we help to kind of create that environment where one of our graduates can succeed. But, our job services start well before job placement. We do everything from job preparation and development on, building resumes, writing cover letters, thinking about, your objective statement, mock interviews, to how do you look for a job, helping people look for jobs, how do you apply online? That's, the era of, in person dropping off a
Yeah.
paper application is rare these days, right? So it's like, how do you navigate that online system? And our students do very well with that, because that's what they know mostly, right?
Mhm.
To going with a student or graduate, if you will, to an interview to help support that, but doing a lot of practice well ahead so
Mhm.
that they are well prepared for their interview. So we do all of that. So our job service is really an A to Z package, right? Nuts and bolts of like everything on like, how do you think about preparing for a job? How do you apply for one? And then, setting them up success with a job coach. Not everybody chooses or needs a job coach, which is fine, but we have that service available, and we've just really hit the ground running this year with our job services. So we've been doing the resume writing and cover letter and looking for positions for quite some time. But I would say probably Sunflower secret sauce is that since we know our students deeply and well, and we know and develop relationships with employer partners, we can really help match the job requirement to the student's strengths and frankly, interest too, which is very important.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That just sounds so exciting and such awesome opportunity for all of your graduates.
Thank you. Yeah, we're excited about it.
Yeah. And can you tell us about the pastry arts training versus the hospitality training? Do individuals choose one or can they do both? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. And gosh, we started a while ago in we've been training since 2010, and our signature program has been our pastry arts program. Only recently, actually during COVID, did we pilot a hospitality program and formalized it in FY, our fiscal year 2022. And really, one is to provide another offering, because what we have found is, and as a parent with a child with a disability, that there's not enough programs to meet the need, right? And of those programs, often it's you get to choose this or that. So what can we do as an organization providing workforce development training to provide more choice? So, and when I mean choice is, it's pastry arts is, as it sounds, the basics of baking and pastry. It's very back of the house operations, right? Very individualized tasks. Somebody working in pastry will complete one job that's in service to a whole. You don't necessarily make an entire batch of cookies, bake it off, and then you've done that, but you will have one piece of that. So it's individualized, it's focused, it's back of the house. Hospitality is very front facing. So it's front of the house, it's customer service, it's point of sale. There's a lot more engagement, right? So it's more suits an extroverted person, whereas pastry arts suits a more potentially introverted person, because it's the nature of your day-to-day work. And so as we were thinking about using food as our tool for training, what other trainings would make sense for us to think about that not only provides more choice, but lends itself to different personality types, right? Because we all have different personality types and different interests and wants and needs. And so hospitality being frontward facing, literally you walk in our door at 5951 Halpine and you're being greeted by one of our hospitality students. So that engagement requires a high level of energy. And if you are somebody that doesn't like that so much, hospitality may not be for you, right? So students or prospective students may come in thinking that, oh, I want to do pastry arts or I want to do hospitality. But what our programmatic team does is really, it's very intentional. We have a pretty extensive application process in terms of people apply, then they'll come in for the interview. And during that interview, we'll ask questions to tease out, right? If somebody says, oh, I really want to be in pastry arts. Okay. Do you like doing individualized tasks? Do you like, you need to be able to stand for 4 or 5 hours. You have to be able to lift heavy things, like all of these things kind of work independently. And if they say, no, I really like talking to people. Well, that tells us that maybe hospitality is more appropriate for them. So we kind of let the student and the family guide us, and we don't make a predetermined decision. And we hope that having that conversation will help guide them to the best possible placement. So, but also we don't stop there. Once we have that interview and that initial conversation, we have an assessment. So you'll either go into a pastry arts assessment or hospitality assessment. And the pastry arts is 3 days for 3 hours to really figure out, like, is this an appropriate training for you? And for us too, we want it to be a nice match. And hospitality is similar. It's 2 days for 3 hours. And we just want to gauge like whether or not the student makes progress each day, can retain some of the information. We don't expect anyone to get everything absolutely 100% correct. But that is also another way that helps us understand what program might be most appropriate for a student. And a student can go through that assessment and say, oh, this is not exactly what I thought it was going to be. I think, maybe something else is right for me. So that's a little bit of kind of how we evolved our programming, what it is, and how we screen students for the best possible program for them.
That's great. I love the flexibility within that and the fact that, you don't just sign up for one and you're on that track no matter what. It's really,
Absolutely.
really
Absolutely. Yeah.
great. And do you all have openings in your programs currently?
Great question. So for both of our trainings, we have 4 starts a year. So our next cohort or class will be in April. Yes, we do have openings. We accept 6 for pastry arts for each class, and we have 4 classes a year. We accept 4 for hospitality, hopefully, and we hope to scale that over time in hospitality to get up to 6. So yes, I would encourage anybody who is interested to contact us and our program team. And really just, you can call us at 240-361-3698, or probably even better is to email programs@sunflowerbakery.org. And we have a programmatic team that can get back to you pretty quickly and let you know what we need in terms of setting up a time to have a conversation and an interview. So our classes, if you think that, oh, April's too soon for me, our next class after that is July, you could actually email or call us and inquire about that class as well. And then we have October and January after that.
That's fantastic. And then what is the most rewarding part you would say about what you do?
Oh my gosh, that's a loaded question. It's hard to say if there's one specific thing, but I will just say, having been here for a year and a half and really seen a full cycle of our students going through the program, that students that enter Sunflower are not the same people when they leave. It's hard to explain until you experience it, but Sunflower is a transformational experience. Just the confidence that builds over the time that they are here, the self-esteem, you see a work ethic grow and be built, and all of these things these students have coming in, right? It's just providing the platform and the structure to let students blossom. And so, we've seen students go from, living with their parents, going through our program, to getting their own apartment or living more independently once they've finished, and the independence is a really big thing too, because a lot of it stems from just the self-esteem and self-confidence and self-worth. And you see that grow in our students as they progress through the program. And it's really just amazing to see. So, when students first come up to the bake shop, and there are 2 phases in each of our programs. The first phase is, more classroom based, if you will. It's with, doing similar things with your class at the same time. And then the second phase, you're really applying everything that you know in a real world setting. So our pastry arts students will be producing baked goods for sale in our cafe or our bake shop, or for orders or for wholesale accounts. Our hospitality students are actually selling those baked goods right up front. They're taking inventory, they're answering the phone. And, it's like you see the progression from, okay, I'm a little unsure being up here. How do I do this? Where is that? To, as they get more practice and experience and engagement, that they start to do it on their own. And it's really just an amazing transformation and experience, and just wonderful to see.
I love that. Oh, well, Jody, thank you so much for your time and sharing about the bakery.
Absolutely.
Thanks again for listening to the Support Report podcast. Tune in next month for a new episode.